It must happen in that first chapter. Not many people will tell you this, but the bottom line is, for a debut novelist, if it's not happening in the first chapter, it's not happening for you. You have to make it happen. You have to have There is something that almost every debut novelist gets wrong about the very first chapter they write, and that's their inciting incident. It's not so much what they're doing wrong as what they're not doing at all. Do you know what it is? Hi, I'm Celeste Davidson, and by the end of this video, you will know exactly what you need to do to write the perfect inciting incident for your novel. So what is an inciting incident? And what are people getting wrong? Well, there's several requirements for an inciting incident. It's not what you learned it was, perhaps, in high school. It's a little bit more. At least those people who are selling novels these days generally include all of the things that we're going to discuss. And those who don't may have already written several successful novels. But I'm talking specifically about debut novelists. And most of you that are watching these videos are debut novelists. You may have published something hybrid, you may have published something self-published, but if you're looking to publish traditionally or you're looking to develop a good audience through self-publishing, this is what you need to do. So the requirements of it for a really good inciting incident are as follows. First of all, there needs to be a disruption of status quo, which means first you have to have a status quo. So in the first chapter, you need to give the reader a sense of what the world looks like that the protagonist lives in, what the status quo is for that world. It could be anything, but it should conform to whatever genre you're writing in. Then an event needs to happen that disrupts the status quo. If it's romance, it could be something that's not earth-shattering, but perhaps there is the introduction of a romantic situation. If it's a post-apocalyptic novel or genre, then it usually is something pretty substantial and existential that happens. But regardless, depending on the genre, something happens to disrupt the status quo. There are always stakes that are attached to that disruption in terms of the main character or protagonist. So when that disruption to the status quo happens, the protagonist is faced with some sort of a challenge. In the romance that I just mentioned, it might be how to respond to this new love interest. In an end of the world scenario, again, it might be the choices that the protagonist needs to make to survive. But regardless of the genre, there is a response that's needed by the main character in order to either make the stakes intensify or to eliminate the stakes. Sometimes the stakes are positive, sometimes they're negative. It really depends on the genre and the individual story. So in order to find the love of her life, perhaps the protagonist must actually jump through certain hoops, make certain choices in order to save their own life or the life of a universe or a story world with which the protagonist lives, and somebody in a post-apocalyptic story has to make certain choices. So it really depends on the genre, what the stakes are, and how the main character will respond. But respond they have to do. There has to be a compelling choice, and there has to be agency, or else the reader will not stay with you after that first chapter. So what isn't agency? There was a wonderful book written in the 1760s by a Frenchman by the name of Voltaire. At least that was his pen name. Voltaire was a philosopher an Enlightenment philosopher. And if you remember from high school history, that means in English, somebody who was questioning the sort of traditional way of looking at life and the way that, frankly, the masses were controlled by politics and religion, and questioning those beliefs and pushing at people to think beyond them to establishing personal agency in their lives. So he wrote this wonderful book about this very pathetic character, and his name was Candide. And Candide plods through, in this story, all sorts of unspeakable and horrific situations in a very irritating way, just accepting everything as he goes along. So everything is happening to him, and he's not responding in the way that you or I might respond. The point of the whole book, of course, was to show that there's something more than that in life, that if one were to have agency, they could have a better life. But of course, that doesn't happen until the last 10% or so of the book, when finally, after all of these terrible events happen to Candide, he decides to make his own choices and to cultivate his own garden, if you will, to create something new and to grow something new that is his uniquely and through the sweat of his own brow. That is agency, but ironically, the book itself would never get published as a debut novel today because the main character doesn't develop that sense of agency until the end of the book. Today's reader takes for granted that they have agency in their lives. And they expect to see that in the characters that they read about and live vicariously through those characters. So it's incredibly important to establish that choice and that sense of agency from the very beginning. So, for example, in the Hunger Games, you have a wonderful main character, Katniss. She lives in a dystopian world where every section of the place that she lives, every community selects a teenager every year to go fight to the death with other teenagers from other communities. Pretty stark choice there. So her sister is selected from a lottery to go and fight to the death with another teenager. And Katniss actually takes agency away from her sister in order to save her life and makes the choice to fight in her stead. And in doing so, she propels the action of the novel, and she propels her own development as a human being. That is agency. So why is it key? We've touched on it already. Agency is an essential aspect of the human condition. It's really part of what makes humans humans. And we expect it, and yet we don't fully appreciate it in our own lives as much as we could necessarily. We may take it for granted, or we may not have agency in certain areas, and we want to live vicariously through a character who does, even if we do have a certain amount of freedom in our own lives. So it's all about exploring in a safe environment the choices of other people. This is what we read books for. We want to see the choices that they make, good, bad, and ugly in their lives. And this is just a natural part of being human. When we establish that choice in the first chapter, that choice that the protagonist makes, we create empathy for the character. And we talk about empathy a lot at Bardsy. We talk about the relatability and resonance of a main character, how utterly essential they are in order for the reader to want to keep moving forward with a novel. We have to be able to either relate directly to or feel an excitement about the possibilities for a main character, for a protagonist. And if we don't have that from chapter 1, we will probably put that book down. So, the significance of the inciting incident is that it launches and directs the story, both the character arc of the story and the narrative arc of the story, which are inexorably entwined. The character grows as they face challenges. The challenges there are a part and parcel of the narrative arc. So you see how the two literally go from the very beginning. They are launched from an inciting incident together. Remember, it's essential to confirm the genre of the story through the type of inciting incident that occurs. If you are creating an inciting incident about a love story, but it's really a horror story, you're going to confuse your reader. Remember, that first chapter is really an encapsulation of what the story is about, and it is sort of an advertisement for the entire novel. Here's why you want to stick with this novel. It's got everything that you're looking for. That's what you have to do. That's what the inciting incident is all about. Okay, by the time the person finishes reading your first chapter, they know exactly what the genre is. They know what the stakes are for the protagonist. They have a sense of how the protagonist's journey is going to look. That's all part of the inciting incident, and that is why it is the most crucial decision you will make in your novel, and why including every aspect of it, including that sense of empathy, is incredibly important. Empathy, empathy, empathy. Not sympathy, not a distant relationship with the main character, but a feeling as if you are one. The merging of your self and the main character as you read the book. Now, if you look at Adam's wonderful book on character, or if you look at any of our YouTube videos on character, we'll go even more deeply into this. But the bottom line is, when you create empathy between the reader and the main character, that is when they are with you through the entire story. And that's what you need. That's what you desperately need. That's what every agent is looking for. That's what every editor is looking for. But most importantly, that's what every reader is looking for. Not someone that they can kind of, from a distance, appreciate, oh, I kind of feel sorry for this person. That's not going to carry through to reading the entire novel. But empathy, that feeling of oneness, that relatability, that resonance that a main character can provide, that is only establishable through that sense of agency created within the inciting incident and projected through the entire story. So here you have it. Inciting incident is how you launch your novel. It must happen in that first chapter. Not many people will tell you this, but the bottom line is, for a debut novelist, if it's not happening in the first chapter, it's not happening for you. You have to make it happen. You have to have and give the reader an inkling of that trajectory of your novel, the character arc and the narrative arc from chapter 1. And your agent will be looking, your beta readers will be looking for it first. Then the agents will be looking for it second. Your editor will be looking for it third. But most importantly, ultimately, the reader of your book, the general audience for your book, will need that inciting incident to encompass everything, to really be that canon fodder, not the canon itself, but the fodder inside that causes the spark to light, and that will guide the rest of your book. So as you're writing that inciting incident, think about making sparks fly. If you have any questions about this video or questions in general about writing, feel free to contact me at celeste@bardsy.com. And I hope you enjoy other videos that we've been producing for you. They're absolutely free, obviously, on our Bardsy Writers site here on YouTube. And we have many different tools for you on our website that are also absolutely free. So come and visit us. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Look forward to sharing with you soon. Thanks so much for your time today.
Bardsy delivers the tools, guidance, and support you need to produce compelling novels. Our well-researched and thoroughly tested approach includes our minimum complete story, a 90-second exercise that keeps your writing on track while fueling creativity, Bardsy Publishability Index, a 23-dimension checklist that offers attainable goals and provides actionable feedback, and our brand new comprehensive character developer that helps you construct unforgettable characters. Come see for yourself at Bardsy.com today. Try a workshop or enter our first chapter contest. Then, when you're ready, Elite Membership delivers writing groups, personal coaching, and a curated community. With Bardsy, your work will captivate everyone, from agents to publishers, and, most importantly, your readers.